Well, we told you this is going to be a fun day, a full day here at the Pushkar Center. 5 hours of coverage, and of course, we're going to lead off our coverage with our first guest, the Director of Athletics here at West Virginia University, Shane Lyons, kind enough to give us a few minutes here today. Good morning.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us here.
It's great to be here.
It's amazing. We were at the leadoff baseball banquet the other night, and you talked about this then as well. It has been a year. It's been 1 year for you, and how time flies, right?
It really has, Jeff. It's been amazing. I mean, obviously, Monday, February 2nd was my first day, and now you're here a year later, we're back, and a lot of great things happened at Mountaineer athletics over the past year, and we're proud of everything that we've accomplished, and we just got to keep plugging ahead and moving forward.
As you look back on year number one, what jumps out at you? I'm sure everyone has, when they come into a new role, everyone has an idea of their focus, their plan, what they want to lay out. What jumps out at you right away when you look back upon your first year here at West Virginia?
Well, I think it's been a great situation. Obviously, our athletic teams just competing at the highest performance. Men's basketball, when I came in here last year, obviously making it to the Sweet 16, rifle with another national championship. On and on. Football this year, having a bowl win. So a lot of good things are happening on the fields and courts, also in the classroom. But I think the biggest thing that jumped out as me in my first year is just, I'd always been the guy in the trenches, and now, obviously, I'm the guy that's the face of the program and trying to make, decisions of how we want to see this program, not next year, but in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And, that's been a lot of my focus has been on, the facility upgrades, because I think that definitely helps in this whole recruiting process that we talk about, and just, where we're heading as Mountaineer and Mountaineer Nation.
Shane, first of all, first time I met you was a year ago in that seat.
That's right.
Here you came in as a rookie draft pick. Well, now you're a grizzled veteran.
Yeah, that's a grizzled veteran, right.
What I want to ask you about, on National Signing Day, there's a lot's been made this week. Jeff and you and I are texting stories back and forth. Look at this. The top 50 kids in the state of Texas, back in 2010, correct me if my numbers are off, but the top 50 kids in the state of Texas, 34 of those kids in 2010, 30 of them went to Big 12 schools and only 4 to SEC schools. Again, as a guy with some SEC experience, you were there for the transition when A&M and Missouri came over. Right now, at least leading into today, the top 36 kids, that's split down the middle. Big 12 has 18 of them in the state of Texas. Big 12 has 18 of them. The SEC has 18 of them. Talk about the changing landscape in the Big 12 with those switches as a guy who was in the SEC when that played out, how that might affect West Virginia.
Well, I just think that, conference geographical footprints have changed so much in the last, 5 years. So what we once knew is the Big 12 conference in just the Midwest, and, obviously now we have West Virginia that brings it to the East Coast. Same thing in the SEC. Now you go all the way to Missouri, obviously to Texas A&M, so it brings the SEC into Texas. But, all the conferences' geographical footprints have changed. I think that's obviously changed in recruiting. People want to play for the Power 5 conferences, and that's something that's important to them. We just got to maintain who we are as the Big 12 conference. This year having Oklahoma in the final 4 games or in the playoffs is something very important. That's what we need to strive to keep moving forward with.
Let's talk about signing day as a whole. There's always, there's conversations about how do you make things better? How can things maybe be tweaked here and there? This has become a huge day. I mean, you go back to 20 years ago, this day wasn't like this. We were here hanging out in the Pushkar Center, right, talking about the letters of intent as they flew in. I think some people enjoy it. Other people maybe would like to see an early signing period, or even the topic or the conversation about having letters of intent signed as kids commit coming in. What do you think about it as an administrator through the process of how the whole thing works in college football? Your thoughts, where you lie in the conversation on how it could be better potentially down the road.
Well, I think I'm in the same camp as some other coaches. I think just having a one special day is probably not the right thing. There's a lot of kids who've committed verbally, obviously, very early in that process. We got to continue recruiting them, throughout the entire process to this one day. I'd like to see it where the signing period is a lot longer. If that young man wants to sign with an institution, they have that opportunity within that larger window to sign. Our coaches then can focus on the other athletes that have not committed and looked at it. So, I think that needs to continue to be looked at. I know it has been looked at for the last probably 3 to 5 years, but I think it's getting more momentum to look at, having a longer signing period for football. When does that start? It could be as early as September, could be, sometime in December. But I think just giving a larger window of opportunity for the student athletes to sign once they've committed and know where they want to go, and get away from this continuing to recruit for 3, 4, 5, 6 extra months. It's a lot of stress on a lot of people.
Yeah. Shane Lyons with us, West Virginia University Director of Athletics. Our 2016 National Signing Day Special presented by United Bank. Of course, you've already mentioned it, one of your big focus points coming in, facilities. Taking a look at how, in the arms race of college athletics, how you keep up with the top programs and continue to stay competitive. And, as you talked about as well, with this day, so much of it is this weight room to our right, the practice facilities, and of course anything you can do to upgrade your playing field and your stadium as well. Give us an update right now on all the things happening. Of course, the football field at Milan Puskar Stadium going through some huge changes right now as well.
It is. Well, actually, I just walked by it. Matter of fact, you see it there on your screen. I hadn't been over here in a couple weeks, but you look at the field there and the crown being taken out, just one part of what we're doing at the football stadium. Of course, I've talked a lot about the concourses and widen the concourses, and the east side and the front north entrance will be completed by the start of next football season. And then the press box side, the west side, will be completed by the 17th season. So, those things are really fan amenities for all of the Mountaineer Nation coming to the games, more restrooms, more concessions, just to get, speed through that process. So that's the big thing that's happening. Obviously, there's things that we've done here in the football facility itself, the weight room, the new team room. We're looking down the road of looking at a new medical area for our student athletes and new team rooms. So those are things that we have to keep looking at, Jeff, to make sure that, I wouldn't necessarily call it an arms race, but just making sure that, we're up to speed with where we need to be competitive in the Big 12 and nationally. Championships don't win. Facilities don't win championships, but I do think they help in the recruiting process. They help retain coaches. It helps what we're trying to do as a department.
I've always said, if you knew nothing else about college football and you parachuted in and just landed on a campus anywhere in the United States of America, one of the things you can quickly look at to see if that campus and that program is fighting to get the types of kids they want, are there cranes out? Right. If there are cranes out, you're in the mix.
That's right.
If there aren't cranes out, you're probably not in the mix. So you're on to something there. But back to the recruiting front, Shane. After the jump to the Big 12 in 2012, that was obviously a seismic shift in so many things for West Virginia on the football front. I think we're starting to find our niche to some extent as the easternmost team in a very southwestern conference by tapping into, to a greater extent, some of the recruiting areas that we've traditionally tapped into, but now with a bigger brand on our shirt when we step in there.
Right.
Talk a little bit about where that is moving forward, the Baltimore area, Ohio, Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania and southwestern Pennsylvania, maintaining that pipeline down to Florida, and obviously we've developed some connections, thanks to Coach Galloway in large measure, in North Carolina. Talk about the East Coast brand and the brand of football that we can offer that the ACC and the Big Ten can't, and how we've had success in doing that.
Well, it goes back to the brand. The Big 12 brand has spread into the East Coast, and obviously the West Virginia brand has spread into the Midwest. So, as long as we continue as a conference as a whole, we're all in this together to keep having teams like the Oklahoma, the TCUs, the Baylors, being ranked up there very nationally, and we can compete with them. It's helping the brand of the Big 12 Conference, and these young men that want to play football, and all of our athletes across the board, they're looking for that brand and that national reputation of teams that want to win conference championships and national championships. I'm glad to see us go back to our roots a little bit, even after we joined the Big 12, of this is our geographical footprint. go back after those kids in the Baltimore area, in the Ohio area, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, that we've had success with in the past. And now they understand the Big 12 brand of what that means. I think our TV partners have done a great job of exposing the Big 12 conference, and being part of that's really helped us as an institution as well. And so, I think all that in culmination put together is something that we need to, be thankful for, that we're part of that Power Five. Even though I hear a lot of questions about, we're not, in the geographical Midwest footprint, but I think, it helps us in a little bit kind of being outside there to be able to get, more of a flavor of different student athletes from our geographical footprint and bring them into the Big 12.
Speaking of the league, it seems like it's an annual conversation about the conference, no matter what happens on the field or on the court. It's always in the off season picked apart about what the future of the league is going to be. Good to see, obviously, this year the Big 12 Conference have Oklahoma in the college football playoff after what happened in that first year in 2014. Basketball is solid, obviously. The best basketball league, in my opinion, in all of the country in men's college basketball. I know meetings are on the way. Just give me your overall thoughts as you look at where the Big 12 is at right now, and how you view this conference and where it's at, and some of the things that you think of right away about the future of this league moving forward.
Well, ironically, I leave today to go to Dallas for athletic directors meetings on tomorrow. Then we have the president's group coming in on Friday. And part of that discussion is what the future of the Big 12 is going to look like. We go back and forth. Are we at a disadvantage of being at 10? I know a couple of the presidents out there, President Bourne from Oklahoma says, you're at a psychological disadvantage. But you look at the league, you just said it. You watch our basketball team, last night, what a great win at Iowa State. Yeah. But just overall, in basketball, in football, in women's basketball, baseball, you can keep naming off the sports that this conference, is very respected among the other Power 5 conferences. And I'm not sure, if you go to 12, if you go to 14, we need to keep exploring it. I don't think it should be off the table. But at the same time, we shouldn't just be adding to add. Right. We need to look at, who we are as a conference, where we want to head. Part of that is discussions in football, whether you want to add a conference championship. Now, with the legislation passed, we can do that with 10 members. Now the question is, do we want to do that with 10 members? Right. So those are things that we'll continue to vet and talk about. I don't think there's going to be any decisions coming out of the next 2 days of meetings. But, as a conference as a whole, I think we're solid right now. What we got to look at is how can we continue to be solid in the future as well.
Yeah, you've seen it. You saw the shift back 5-6 years ago, and ultimately it's a decision that the presidents will make when it's all said and done. What are the key factors on the expansion side, in your opinion? People are happy at 10, as you talked about. You got to look at it. Some maybe think 2 more, maybe 4 more, depending on what else happens around the league. What do you feel like are the bold faced lines on the sheet of paper that you stare at and look at that are the key factors you consider when talking about this topic?
Well, looking at us and being prejudiced just to us, I think we need that East Coast partner as one of the defining points that I'm looking at personally. And from there we have to look at the bigger picture as a conference. Are we going to start a TV network? What does that mean? What TV markets and different things that we get. Most importantly, what is those schools bringing to the Big 12 from an athletic, standpoint? Football, basketball, the Olympic sports. Right. The other thing the presidents focus on a lot also is academics. The other part of it is culturally, do they fit the Big 12 conference? And, right now with the 10 members that we have, and I've had the opportunity to be in the SEC, been in the ACC, culturally, West Virginia fits very well in the Big 12 conference. And that's what we need if we're going to add other members who fit culturally within that conference. So those things, it's a wide range of spectrums. People look at different things for their own agenda of what's important, but just the big picture and looking at what's best for the Big 12 conference in the future is the most important.
Yep. Speaking of academics, pretty good first year.
It has been a good year. Our graduation rates are up. Our graduation APR scores this fall, we had 11 teams that had a 3.0 or higher GPA out of the 18 sports. The other 5 were rallying around a 2.8 to 2.9. So, we keep stressing that a lot to our coaches, and, the important thing for our student athletes is to prepare them for life after athletics, and that's graduation, and making sure that they're doing the work in the classrooms also very important. And I think our coaches stress that, and it's great to see that we had last year in the bowl game, I think we had 17 or 18 student athletes that played in the bowl game in football that already got their degrees, and that's what we want.
Shane, you've been around major college athletics for a long time, dating all the way back to your time at Lubbock. And before you came here, obviously, you had an opportunity to make a run at Alabama, and in doing so, you were around a staff, and Coach Saban's staff, who's really done a good job of tapping into the psyches of 17-year-olds, if there's such a thing that can be done. And we've continued to move forward in doing that with what Coach Holgerson has done, reaching out, really exercising relationships, finding kids that fit what we do. As a guy who's been around some big-time football, what do you think? Everybody's out selling their program, everybody's out peddling their wares. What do you think is the most important dimension to recruiting a kid to come play for you?
I think it's caring about the kid and really caring about the kid. And they, you can get that vibe when you come on visits. And I've heard some very positive things that, we want to be a school that really cares about our student athletes, both in athletics and also academically, and just the wellness of them overall. Jeff was talking about building facilities. The facilities are just not for the purpose of recruitment, but it's also the wellness of that student athlete throughout their 4 or 5 years at West Virginia. They spend a lot of time in these facilities, and you call it an arms race or whatever you want to call it. It's where they spend a lot of their time. So what's most effective and efficient for that student athlete? Here in this facility, they can come, they can work out, they have their meals here, they have their academic tutors here, so they don't have to be bouncing around all over campus. The other part of it is, making sure that we understand that they are 17 to 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds in some cases, and they do have issues in their life, and how can we help them, get through those issues as a department and build that family culture that we're here. I've said it since I've been to school here, once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer, and that holds so true, that knowing that the 4 or 5 years that they spend here, and then 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that they're still going to be a Mountaineer.
Before we let you go, I know you got to run here, but year 2 now ahead of you. Obviously, Bob Huggins in the basketball program, doing some exciting things right now. Baseball's just around the corner. The Olympic sports are solidified in their coaching staffs and competing and doing a great job. What do you lay out? You're in your office. You're looking at the year ahead. What jumps out at you about what you want to accomplish and what will be a success in your mind?
Well, I think year 1, Jeff, was focusing on just getting the plans ready for the facilities. I think year 2, I've talked about it now for a year. I think year 2, now the Mountaineer Nation will see those facilities start coming out of the ground. In basketball, after basketball season, renovating the Coliseum, a new Olympic sport weight room, everything that we're doing over here, football, I think that's all going to start coming together, and that's the goals, to make sure those are finished in a first-class manner, and then just continuing looking at, for the department, additional revenue streams to make us be able to operate at the highest manner, to be able to give back to our student athletes and to our coaches, to make this a great athletic department. So that's looking at year 2 and continuing to strive to achieve for championships and national championships.
Well, we know you got to run. Thanks for stopping by. You got to get down to Dallas and talk to those boys down there. Thanks for hanging out with us for a few minutes, and an exciting day. We appreciate you stopping by, Shane.
Have a great day, and let's go Mountaineers.
There you go. Shane Lyons, ladies and gentlemen, West Virginia University Director of Athletics, here on our set at the Pushkar Center, as an hour has nearly flown by. 4 more to go here with our 2016 National Signing Day coverage presented by United Bank. We'll take a break. You take a look at the big board there. One update on the defensive side of the football, Zach Sandwich at the bottom. And we'll discuss him and some of the key members and early enrollees that we haven't touched on yet as we continue on with our signing day coverage right here on WVUsports.com.